Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the blue planet on the screen. It was beautiful in a simple way. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green and brown lands spread across the rest. White clouds moved slowly over everything. It looked peaceful. It looked weak. "Report," said to his science officer. "The planet is called Earth by its inhabitants, Commander, population of approximately 8 billion. They have basic technology, combustion engines, primitive flying machines, some nuclear capability, but nothing that can threaten our shields. They have never left their own solar system. They do not know we exist." Allowed himself a small smile. His superiors in the Empire had chosen well. This planet would be an easy conquest. The humans living there would make excellent workers for the mines on distant worlds. Their planet had water, metals, and fertile soil, everything the Empire needed. "How long until we reach attack position?" asked. 6 hours, Commander." "Good, prepare the troops. We strike at dawn on their largest continent." Walked to his private chamber and began writing his victory report. He would be promoted for this. A whole planet, taken without any real resistance. His name would be remembered in history. He had no idea how wrong he was. On Earth, deep inside a mountain in a place called Colorado, Captain stared at her screen with wide eyes. She had been working the night shift at the Global Defense Center. It was usually boring work. She watched satellites. She tracked space debris. She made sure nothing dangerous came close to Earth. But tonight was different. "Sir," she said to her commanding officer, Colonel Ho Park. Her voice was shaking. "You need to see this." Colonel Park walked over to her station. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had served in the military for 30 years. He had seen many things, but when he looked at screen, his face went pale. "Is this real?" he asked quietly. "I have checked it 5 times, sir. It is real. There are 12 large objects entering our solar system. They are moving in formation. They are slowing down as they approach Earth. These are not asteroids. These are ships." Colonel Park stood very still for a long moment. Then he picked up the red phone on the desk. This phone connected directly to every major government on Earth. It had never been used before. "This is Colonel Ho Park at the Global Defense Center," he said. "We have confirmed alien contact. I repeat, we have confirmed alien contact. This is not a drill. Activate Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was a secret plan that only a few hundred people on Earth knew about. For the past 50 years, governments around the world had been preparing for this exact moment. They had built weapons in secret. They had trained special soldiers. They had planned for every possible scenario. The world had been waiting for aliens to arrive, and now they were here. Within 1 hour, military bases across the planet came alive. Soldiers woke up and grabbed their weapons. Pilots ran to their jets. Ships left their ports. Submarines dove deep into the ocean. The whole planet was preparing for war, and the aliens had no idea. In Seoul, a young pilot named got the call while she was eating dinner with her family. She kissed her mother goodbye and ran to her car. 30 minutes later, she was in the cockpit of her fighter jet, waiting for orders. Sergeant Dongwoo Lee gathered his Special Forces team. They had trained for years to fight enemies they had never seen. Now that enemy was coming, and they were ready. In the capital, General Mira took command of the Unified Earth Defense Force. She was 60 years old with short gray hair and eyes like steel. She had never lost a battle in her entire career. She did not plan to start now. "Show me what we are facing," she said to her staff. They showed her the alien ships. They were massive, each one the size of a small city. Their technology was clearly more advanced than anything on Earth. They had weapons that could destroy buildings from orbit. They had shields that could stop missiles. But General did not show any fear. Instead, she smiled. "They think we are weak," she said. "They think we will surrender. They do not know us at all." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to every military unit on Earth. Tell them to hold their positions. Do not fire until I give the order. Let the aliens come close. Let them think they have already won, and then we will show them what humans can do." The message went out across the planet. Soldiers read it and felt their fear turn into determination. They were not going to let these invaders take their home. They were going to fight. Up in space, Commander received his final reports. Everything looked perfect. The humans had no space fleet. Their weapons were primitive. Their leaders were probably panicking right now, trying to decide whether to fight or surrender. "Begin the descent," ordered. "Target their major cities. Once we destroy a few of them, the rest will give up." His ships moved toward Earth. They entered the atmosphere, their shields glowing bright against the friction. They looked like falling stars to the people below. Captain watched them come on her screen. Her hands were steady now. The fear had passed. In its place was something else, something stronger. "They have no idea what they are flying into," she said quietly. Colonel Park nodded. "No, they do not, but they will learn soon enough." The first alien ships broke through the clouds over Tokyo, New York, and London. They hovered there, massive and terrible, blocking out the sun. Millions of people looked up and saw their worst nightmare become real. But they did not run. They did not scream. They watched and waited. Because somewhere deep inside, every human knew the truth. This planet had faced extinction before. Ice ages, plagues, asteroids, world wars. And every single time humanity had survived. Every single time humanity had won. The aliens thought they were attacking a weak, primitive world. They were wrong. They were attacking Earth, and Earth had been waiting for them. Commander gave the order without any hesitation. His weapons officer pressed the button, and beams of bright blue energy shot down from the ships. They struck the center of Tokyo first. Buildings exploded into dust. Streets melted into glass. Thousands of people died in seconds. The same thing happened in New York and London. The aliens destroyed government buildings, military bases, and communication towers. They wanted to break the humans quickly. They wanted to show them that resistance was useless. Watched the destruction on his screen and felt satisfied. This was going exactly as planned. In a few hours, the human leaders would contact him and beg for mercy. He would accept their surrender, take control of the planet, and become a hero of the Empire. But something strange was happening. "Commander," his sensor officer said with confusion in his voice, "the humans are not fleeing. They are moving toward the attack sites." "What do you mean?" "Their military vehicles are converging on our positions. Their aircraft are launching from bases all over the planet. They have submarines rising to the surface with weapons ready." Frowned. This was not normal behavior for a conquered species. When they attacked a planet, the inhabitants usually ran away or surrendered immediately. But these humans were doing neither. "They are primitives," said. "Their weapons cannot hurt us. Let them come." He was about to learn just how wrong he was. In Colorado, Colonel Ho Park stood in the command center surrounded by screens showing every corner of Earth. His face was grim as he watched the destruction in Tokyo, New York, and London, but his voice was steady when he spoke. "All units, this is Colonel Park. Phase 1 is complete. The enemy has revealed their positions and their weapons. Now we begin Phase 2. All aircraft engage. All ground forces move to defensive positions. Navy units prepare to fire." Across the planet, humanity answered. In Korea, pushed her throttle forward and her jet screamed into the sky. She was leading a squadron of 20 fighters toward the alien ship hovering over Seoul. They had been told that regular missiles would not work against the alien shields, but these were not regular missiles. For decades, scientists had been developing new weapons in secret. They had studied energy patterns. They had created special warheads designed to break through any shield. These weapons had never been tested in real combat before. Today would be the first test. Squadron 7, arm your missiles, said through her radio. Target the enemy ship. Fire on my command. 20 pilots responded with voices that did not shake. They were afraid, but they were also determined. Their families were down there. Their homes were down there. They would protect them or die trying. Fire commanded. 20 missiles flew toward the alien ship. They struck the shield and exploded in brilliant flashes of white light. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shield flickered. Then it flickered again. Then it fell. On his command ship, stared at his screen in disbelief. "That is impossible," he whispered. "Primitive weapons cannot break shields." But the evidence was right in front of him. The shield on one of his smaller ships had collapsed. The human jets were already firing again, this time with conventional weapons. Explosions tore across the hull. Smoke began to pour from the damaged sections. "Return fire," screamed. "Destroy those aircraft." His weapons officers tried. They really did. But the human jets were small and fast. They moved in patterns that the targeting systems could not predict. They worked together in perfect coordination, each pilot covering the others. 3 jets were destroyed by alien fire, but 17 continued their attack, and more were coming, many more. Sergeant Dongwu Li watched a damaged alien ship crash into the ocean 5 miles from the coast. He turned to his team of 20 soldiers. "We have our target," he said. "That ship is still intact. The creatures inside are still alive. Our mission is to board that ship, neutralize all hostiles, and capture any technology we find. Any questions?" One young soldier raised his hand. "Sir, we do not know what these aliens look like. We do not know what weapons they have. We do not know anything about them." Dongwu smiled. "Correct, but they do not know anything about us either, and I think that will be their bigger problem." They loaded into boats and headed toward the crash site. The alien ship was half submerged in the water, smoke rising from several holes in its hull. Strange sounds came from inside, like screaming mixed with mechanical noise. Dongwu was the first to board. He climbed through a hole in the hull and dropped into a dark corridor. Emergency lights flickered red. The air smelled wrong, like burning metal and something sweet that made him feel dizzy. He pulled on his mask and signaled for his team to follow. They moved through the ship in silence. The corridors were narrow and twisted in strange angles. The walls were covered with symbols they could not read. Everything felt wrong, like the ship had been built by minds that did not think like human minds. They found the first alien in a small room near the center of the ship. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. It had been injured in the crash and could not move. It looked at the humans with eyes that showed no understanding. "What is your name?" Dongwu asked, knowing it probably could not understand him. The alien made a sound like grinding stones. Then it spoke in broken English, using a device attached to its throat. "I am Science Officer. You cannot win. More ships will come. The Empire will destroy you all." Dongwu knelt down beside the alien and looked into its strange eyes. "Your Empire attacked our home," he said quietly. "Your ships killed innocent people in our cities. You thought we would surrender. You thought we would be afraid. But you forgot to check what kind of planet you were attacking. You are primitives," said. "You have no space fleet, no advanced weapons. You are nothing." Dongwu stood up and smiled. "We have something better. We have 8 billion people who will never stop fighting. We have been killing each other for thousands of years. We have practice. And now we have a new enemy to unite against." He turned to his soldiers. "Secure the prisoner, strip this ship of everything useful. We have work to do." Above the ocean, the battle continued. Human aircraft swarmed the alien ships like angry insects. Missiles flew. Energy beams burned through the sky. Ships exploded and fell burning to the earth. Commander watched 3 more of his vessels fall. His grand invasion force of 12 ships was down to 8. These primitive humans were doing the impossible. They were winning. "Retreat to high orbit," ordered. "We need to reorganize." His ships pulled back, climbing high above the planet where the human aircraft could not follow, stood on his bridge and tried to understand what had gone wrong. On Earth, people looked up and watched the alien ships flee. For the first time since the attack began, they allowed themselves to hope. They had fought back. They had hurt the invaders. They were still alive. General Mira received reports from every corner of the planet. 12 human cities had been damaged. Hundreds of thousands were dead. But the alien fleet was broken and scared. "Send them a message," she said. "Let them know we are not finished." The message went out on every frequency. It said only 4 words. "We are just beginning." 24 hours had passed since the first attack. In that time, humanity had not slept. They had not stopped. They had worked through the night and into the next day, building defenses, treating wounded, and preparing for the next battle. Commander watched the planet from high orbit and could not believe what he was seeing. His sensors showed activity everywhere. Humans were moving equipment across continents. They were launching more aircraft. They were pulling damaged ships out of the ocean and taking them apart piece by piece. "They have been awake for over 20 rotations," his science officer reported. "Their bodies should be failing by now. They should be collapsing from exhaustion, but they keep moving. How is this possible?" Shook his head. He had studied thousands of species across the galaxy. He had never seen anything like this. The needed 8 hours of sleep every day to function. Most species needed even more, but these humans seemed to run on pure determination. "Their biology must be different," said. "They must have some kind of internal stimulant that keeps them going." He did not understand. Humans did not have special biology. They were just ordinary creatures of flesh and blood, but they had something that no scanner could detect. They had will. They had purpose. They had a planet to protect. And they were about to show what that meant. Lieutenant had not slept in 30 hours. Her eyes burned. Her muscles ached, but she kept flying. She had been promoted after the first battle. 3 enemy ships destroyed, 2 assists, and not a single member of her squadron killed. Now she had a new mission. A scout ship had crashed in the mountains north of Pyongyang. It was badly damaged but still intact. General wanted that ship captured whole. The technology inside could help humanity understand their enemy. Landed her jet near the crash site and joined a team of soldiers already waiting there. Sergeant Dongwoo Lee was leading the ground team. He looked as tired as she felt, but his eyes were sharp. "The ship is surrounded by alien soldiers," he explained. "Maybe 20 of them. They are setting up defensive positions around the wreck. They have energy weapons that can cut through our armor like paper." "How do we get past them?" asked. Dongwoo smiled. "We do not go past them, we go through them." His plan was simple but dangerous. They would attack from 3 directions at once. One team would create a distraction. Another would lay down covering fire. The third would move in fast and hard, taking the aliens by surprise before they could organize. "These creatures are bigger than us," Dongwoo said to his soldiers. "They are stronger than us. Their weapons are better than ours, but they have never fought humans before. They do not know how fast we can adapt. They do not know how hard we can push ourselves. Show them." The attack began at sunset. Smoke grenades flew through the air, filling the area with thick gray clouds. The aliens fired blindly into the smoke, their energy beams cutting through the darkness. But they could not hit what they could not see. Dongwoo led his team through the chaos. They moved in a way that the aliens had never seen before. They rolled, crawled, and ran in patterns that seemed random but were actually perfectly coordinated. Each soldier knew exactly where the others would be. They had practiced this 1,000 times. A soldier stepped out of the smoke right in front of. It was massive, towering over her by 3 feet. It raised its weapon to fire. She did not freeze. She did not hesitate. She dropped to one knee and fired 3 shots into its chest. The creature stumbled back, surprised that a human could react so fast. It fell, kept moving. Another alien appeared. She fired again and again. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. She had been trained for this moment her entire life. In 10 minutes it was over. 15 alien soldiers lay dead. 5 had surrendered. Not a single human had been killed. Dongwu walked through the battlefield and counted the bodies. He looked at with new respect in his eyes. "You are a pilot," he said. "You are not trained for ground combat. How did you do that?" Shrugged, "We are all trained for survival. The method does not matter, only the result." They entered the crashed ship together. It was dark inside, lit only by flickering emergency lights. Strange machines lined the walls. Screens displayed symbols they could not read. Everything smelled like burning plastic and something else, something alien. "Get the scientists in here," Dongwu ordered. "I want everything recorded, photographed, and analyzed. We have maybe 6 hours before the aliens send a rescue force." The scientists arrived within the hour. They were led by Dr. Sunyi Han, a woman with gray hair and glasses that seemed too big for her face. She had been studying physics for 40 years. But when she saw the alien technology, she looked like a child who had just discovered a new toy. "This is incredible," she whispered. "Their power systems, their shields, their weapons. The principles are similar to what we have theorized, but the application is completely different. If we can understand this, we could advance our technology by decades." "How long do you need?" Dongwu asked. Dr. Han smiled. "To understand it completely, years; to make something useful, maybe days. We are fast learners." She was not lying. Human scientists had one gift that made them dangerous. They could look at something they did not understand and figure out how it worked. They could take pieces from one thing and combine them with pieces from another. They could adapt. Within 12 hours, the first alien weapon had been successfully. Within 24 hours, it had been improved. Within 48 hours, the first human soldiers were being equipped with energy rifles that were more efficient than the originals. Up in orbit, Commander received reports of the disaster at the crash site. He had lost 20 soldiers and an entire ship full of technology. The humans now had access to weapons. The balance of power was shifting. "This cannot be happening," said. "These creatures were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be easy." His second-in-command, a veteran named, stepped forward. "Commander, we need to request reinforcements from the Empire. This planet is more dangerous than we anticipated." "No," snapped. "If I call for help, I will be seen as weak. My career will be over. We will handle this ourselves." "How?" Turned to look at the blue planet below. He had underestimated these humans. He would not make that mistake again. "We will hit them harder. We will destroy their cities, their farms, their water supplies. We will give them nothing to fight for. Eventually, they will break." Looked doubtful but said nothing. He had seen many species conquered by they always broke eventually. Everyone broke eventually. But on Earth, General Mira was having a very different conversation. "They think they can break us," she said to her commanders. "They think if they cause enough pain, we will give up. They do not understand us at all." She pointed to a map, showing the positions of the remaining alien ships. "They are regrouping in high orbit. They will attack again soon, probably within 48 hours. When they do, we will be ready, not just to defend, to win." "How?" Colonel Park asked. General smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just spotted its prey. "We take the fight to them. We go up there and show them that there is nowhere in this solar system where they are safe from us." The plan was bold, it was dangerous, it might not work. But it was human, and that meant it had a chance. Sergeant Dongwu Li sat across from the captured alien and waited. The creature called itself, and it had been a science officer on one of the crashed ships. For 2 days, it had refused to speak. It just sat there with its 4 arms crossed over its chest and stared at the wall. But Dongwu was patient. He had learned long ago that the best way to get information was not through force, it was through understanding. "You must be hungry," he said. He pushed a plate of food across the table. It was rice and vegetables, simple human food. "I do not know what your species eats, but this will not hurt you." Looked at the food with its strange silver eyes. "Why do you care if I am hungry? I am your enemy. I helped plan the attack on your cities. You are also my prisoner. That means you are my responsibility." This seemed to confuse the alien. It stared at Dongwu for a long moment. "On my world, prisoners are not given food. They are not given water. They are left alone until they provide useful information, and then they are disposed of. This is efficient." "We are not efficient," Dongwu said. "We are human." Something changed in its eyes. It was small, barely visible, but Dongwu noticed it. The alien was curious now. "Tell me about humans," said. "I have studied your planet for months. I know your technology, your biology, your history, but I do not understand you. You should have surrendered when we attacked. Every calculation said you would. Why did you fight?" Dongwu thought about the question for a long time before answering. "Because this is our home, because our families are here, because we would rather die fighting than live as slaves. Is that not true for your species as well?" Shook its head. "They do not have families like you do. We are grown in facilities designed for specific purposes. I was made to be a scientist. Commander was made to be a warrior. We do not choose. We are assigned." "That sounds lonely." "It is efficient." Dongwu leaned back in his chair. "You keep using that word, efficient, but there is more to life than efficiency. There is love, there is friendship, there is meaning." "Those are weaknesses," said. "They make you emotional, they make you unpredictable. They also make us fight harder than any species in the galaxy. You learned that already, did you not?" Was silent for a long moment. Then it did something that surprised Dongwu. It reached out and took a piece of food from the plate. It put it in its mouth and chewed slowly. "Your food is strange," it said, "but not unpleasant." It was a small moment, but Dongwu knew it meant something important. A connection had been made. A bridge had been built. Over the next few hours told Dongwu everything. It explained how the ships worked. It described their weapons, their shields, their communication systems. It told him about the weaknesses in Commander's fleet. It drew diagrams and wrote formulas. When Dongwu asked why it was helping, gave a simple answer. "Because you showed me kindness when you did not have to. In my entire life, no one has ever done that. Perhaps humans are not as primitive as we believed." The information went straight to Dr. Sunyi Han and her team of scientists. They worked through the night, analyzing every detail. By morning, they had developed a plan. "The alien shields have a frequency," Dr. Han explained to General. "It cycles every few seconds. If we time our attacks perfectly, we can slip through the gaps. We can hit them where they think they are protected." "Can our weapons do that?" General asked. Dr. Han smiled. "They can now. We modified 50 of our best missiles last night. They will wait for the exact right moment and then strike. The aliens will never see it coming." General nodded. "Then we attack today, before they can reorganize, before they can call for reinforcements." The order went out across the planet. Every available pilot was called to duty. Every ship that could fly was prepared for launch. This would be the largest coordinated attack in human history. Climbed into her jet for what might be the last time. She looked at the picture of her family that she kept in the cockpit, her mother, her father, her little brother. They were counting on her. The whole world was counting on her. "All pilots, this is General. The enemy fleet is in high orbit above the Pacific Ocean. They think they are safe up there. They think we cannot reach them. Today we prove them wrong. Today we take back our sky. Good luck and good hunting." 200 jets took off at exactly the same moment. They climbed higher and higher, pushing their engines to the limit. They had been modified too, given new boosters that could take them to the edge of space. Commander watched them come on his screen and laughed. "They are desperate," he said to his officers. "Their little aircraft cannot survive at this altitude. They will fall before they even reach us." But the human jets kept climbing. They reached heights that should have been impossible. They entered the thin air where normal planes could not function, and they kept coming. "How is this possible?" demanded. His science officer checked and rechecked his readings. "They have modified their aircraft, new engines, new materials. They did this in less than 48 hours. For the first time since the invasion began, felt real fear. All ships raise shields to maximum, prepare to engage." The fleet formed a defensive formation. 8 ships, each one the size of a mountain, covered with weapons and protected by shields that had never been broken in battle. The human jets arrived. They were small, fragile things compared to the alien warships. They looked like insects attacking a group of giants. Then they fired. The modified missiles flew toward the ships. They did not hit the shields directly. Instead, they waited. They calculated. And at the exact right moment, when the shield frequency was at its lowest point, they struck. The first shield fell, then the second, then the third. Commander watched in horror as his fleet came apart around him. Explosions tore through his ships. Fires broke out on every deck. His officers screamed for orders, but he had none to give. "Impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." But it was happening. The primitive humans, the creatures he had dismissed as weak and easy to conquer, were destroying his fleet. They were winning. Flew through the chaos, firing at anything that moved. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were sweating, but she did not stop. She could not stop, not until it was over. She saw a ship trying to flee. It was damaged, leaking smoke and flames. But it was heading away from Earth, trying to escape into deep space. "Oh no, you don't," she said. She pushed her jet to its maximum speed and chased the fleeing ship. She got in close, closer than any pilot should ever get to an enemy vessel, and she fired everything she had. The ship exploded in a ball of fire, pulled away at the last second, her jet shaking from the shockwave. Behind her, the rest of the fleet was falling. Ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. The sky was filled with fire and smoke. On his command ship, Commander stood alone on his bridge. Every one of his officers was dead. His ship was burning. He had failed completely. He looked at the blue planet below and finally understood the truth. He had not attacked a primitive world. He had attacked a planet of warriors. And now he was going to die. Commander's flagship fell from the sky like a wounded bird. It crashed into the Pacific Ocean with a sound that could be heard for 100 miles. Steam rose from the water as the burning metal met the cold sea. Then there was silence. Of the 12 ships that had come to conquer Earth, only 2 survived. They were badly damaged, leaking fuel and missing half their weapons. They limped toward the edge of the solar system as fast as their broken engines could carry them. They would bring news back to the Empire, news of a disaster, news of a world that refused to be conquered. On Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw nothing but stars. The alien ships were gone. The battle was over. For the first time in 4 days, there was peace. But no one celebrated. Not yet. There was too much work to do. General Mira stood in the ruins of what had once been a government building in Seoul. The alien attack had destroyed it completely. Now it was just broken concrete and twisted metal. Around her, workers were already clearing the debris. "How bad is it?" she asked Colonel Park. He handed her a tablet with the numbers. 12 cities damaged, over 2 million dead, countless buildings destroyed. The economic impact will take decades to recover from. General read the numbers in silence. Each one represented a person, a family, a life that would never be the same. And the alien ships. We recovered wreckage from 7 of them. The technology is being studied at facilities around the world. Dr. Hand says we have learned more in 4 days than we would have in 50 years of normal research. General nodded slowly. Then something good came from this horror. We paid for that knowledge with blood, but we will use it well. She looked out at the ruined city. In the distance, she could see people working together. Soldiers helped civilians clear rubble. Doctors treated the wounded in tent hospitals. Children handed out water to tired workers. This was humanity, not the technology or the weapons or the strategies. This was what made them special. This ability to face disaster and immediately start rebuilding. This refusal to give up, no matter how dark things became. Sergeant Dongwu Li found her there an hour later. He looked exhausted, covered in dust and dried sweat, but his eyes were bright. "General, the prisoner has asked to speak with you." General raised an eyebrow. "The alien scientist, what does it want?" "It says it has information about the Empire. Information that might help us prepare for what comes next." They walked together to the facility where was being held. It was a simple building, nothing special. The alien sat in a plain room with a window that looked out at the mountains. When General entered, stood up. It was still strange to see this 8-foot creature with gray skin and 4 arms, but there was something different about it now, something almost respectful. General said, "Thank you for seeing me. I am told you have information to share." "Yes," walked to the window and looked out at the view. "The Empire spans thousands of worlds, millions of soldiers, countless ships. What you destroyed here was a single expeditionary force, nothing more. You are saying more will come." "I am certain of it. When the surviving ships return with news of this defeat, the Empire will respond. They have never lost to a primitive species before. Their pride will demand revenge." General felt a chill run down her spine, but she did not let it show. "How long do we have?" "The nearest major fleet is about 3 years away at standard travel speed. If they send a message calling for immediate assistance, perhaps 2 years. Either way, you have time, but not much. And you are telling us this because you want to help us." Turned to face her. Its silver eyes were hard to read, but there was something genuine in them. "I have spent my entire life serving the Empire. I was designed for it, born for it. But in 4 days on your planet, I have seen things I never imagined. I have seen soldiers show mercy to their enemies. I have seen people work together without being forced. I have seen kindness given freely, without expectation of reward." It paused, gathering its thoughts. "The Empire conquers worlds because it believes it is superior to all other species. But you humans are not inferior. You are different, and in many ways you are better than us. I cannot fight against that. I will not." General studied the alien for a long moment. Then she made a decision. "We will need help building defenses. We will need to understand technology, tactics, and culture. We will need someone who can translate, negotiate, and advise. Are you willing to do these things?" Straightened to its full height, "I am." "Then welcome to Earth. We have a lot of work to do." That evening, General addressed the world. Every television, radio, and computer carried her message. Billions of people stopped what they were doing and listened. 4 days ago, our world was attacked by forces from beyond our solar system. They came here expecting easy conquest. They believed we would be afraid. They believed we would surrender. They were wrong. She paused, letting the words sink in. "We lost many people in this battle. Mothers, fathers, children, friends. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. But their deaths were not meaningless. They died defending our home. They died so that Earth would remain free." Her voice grew stronger. "The universe now knows about humanity. They know we exist. They know we fight. And they know we win. More threats may come. More enemies may try to take what is ours, but they will face the same fate as because this is Earth, and Earth does not kneel. In homes across the planet, people heard these words. Some cried, some cheered, some simply held their families close and felt grateful to be alive. In Colorado, Captain watched the speech from the same station where she had first detected the alien ships. She thought about how much had changed in such a short time, how the universe had become so much bigger and more dangerous, but also full of possibility. Sergeant Dongwu Li sat with his team and raised a glass of soju. "To Earth," he said, "and to all the crazy people who live on it." They drank together, brothers and sisters in arms who had faced the impossible and survived. In the sky above Seoul, Lieutenant flew her jet through the clouds. She had been promoted to major now. She was being given command of the New Earth Defense Squadron, a team of the best pilots from every country. She looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. What other species watched the galaxy with curious eyes? What other battles waited for humanity in the endless dark? She was not afraid, she was excited. Because the universe had just discovered humans, and humans had just discovered the universe. Things were never going to be the same. Back at the command center, General finished her speech with one final message. It was broadcast on every frequency that Dr. Han had found in the communication systems. It went out into space, traveling at the speed of light toward distant stars and unknown worlds. This message is for any species that receives it. We are humans. We live on a small planet called Earth in a system you may not have noticed before. For days ago, we were attacked. For days ago, we were expected to fall. We did not. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes hard as steel. Earth is not a target. Earth is not prey. Earth is our home, and we will defend it against anyone who threatens it. Come in peace, and you will be welcomed. Come in war, and you will be destroyed. This is our promise. This is our warning. She straightened her uniform and spoke the final words. We are humanity, and we are here to stay. The message ended. The broadcast stopped, and across the planet people looked up at the stars with new eyes. They were no longer alone in the universe, but they were still standing, still fighting, still human. And that would have to be enough.